Hello. Welcome to Leap Taken. Here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft-related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. Let's have a conversation about spiritual psychosis, spiritual emergency, or spiritual psychosis. I wanted to make this video because the eclipse has come and gone, and those who consider themselves spiritual, whether they are claiming Christianity or not, really kind of showed their behinds this eclipse season. So if you were on TikTok, there was a young lady, I think it was Dallas, Texas area, and she got on TikTok crying. I thought there had been a mass murder because the way she was talking, she was hysterically crying. If you're listening to someone hysterical cry, you're trying to understand the words they're saying. I heard it long enough to understand that she was basically saying there would be murders in the streets. That's her, and she was, really reacting to it, screaming and crying and all this hollering, because she truly believed that. Then there was some sort of pastor woman, real old school looking. She was a much older woman, and she also took to social media. I don't know why they put that woman video up, and she's basically was saying this is the rapture, and then you had other people, evangelical, different types of people talking about, this is something else, the rapture essentially. And I'm noticing on live feeds of the eclipse, people are in the chat saying the resurrection, Jesus has risen. We've had an eclipse before. It's happened. So it's just bizarre, this behavior. But there's a reason. I have a theory that when it'll be many, many years from now, it'll be a new dark age that we have entered in. We're already in it. It's already happening. At least here. Remember, when you talk about the dark ages, that was happening to European areas. It wasn't happening, let's say, in Arab countries at the time. They were thriving. They got jammed up because, once you start subjugating women, you become this religious place. And, they've been having a hard time coming back since. So, here you go. If you're looking for the fall of the new Rome, aka America, it's happening. So we have, these people who are hysterical over scientific events that have a history of occurring. And the reason we're so excited about it is because the next one won't be for quite some time. And it's exciting to see this scientific event occur, to see astronomy in a very tangible way and have understanding about it. This was most news media covered the total eclipse. If you were in an area we got to see totality, I had about 70% here in Arizona. As a spiritualist myself, I definitely, understand, one, it was a new moon. I understand the mystical portion behind it as well, including the total eclipse. I speak of portals myself. When I talked about the total solar eclipse in Aries, I spoke of transformative type magic and sort of taking a quantum leap. At no point do I ever, and I never will, get on this channel and speak of dire warnings, because everything is up to my interpretation. Everything is up to my understanding. So with that being said, spiritual psychosis. So I want to read what is spiritual psychosis? Behaviors and thought patterns expressed during spiritual emergencies and psychosis exemplify a loss of rational thought. Such symptoms include disorganized behaviors, irrational or confused speech patterns, and significant alterations in the way they view themselves and their place in the world. Spiritual psychosis is not just for those of us who, understand and work with astrology. Spiritual psychosis can happen in religious folk, with the big three religions. Honestly, I think most of us have seen it play out in real time. A lot of our mothers, grandmothers, and things like that, aunties, especially the older ones, I have seen it play out in real time, and they don't think they're harming you, but they're creating fear, especially in the little kids around, the way they react to everything. It's just so much fear. It's also, again, with the irrational thinking, disorganized thoughts, which lead to sort of this irrational way of moving, like getting on TikTok and crying and just really just losing yourself. And then as the day goes on, nothing happened. I struggle with this because I don't want to sound rude. That's why I'm taking a deep pause. I don't want to sound rude. But the reality is, and this is I'm going to start with just the witchcraft community, spiritualists. It is embarrassing at times when you get on, for me, Witch Talk, they're embarrassing over there. Everybody. It don't matter their ethnicity, their race, it don't matter. A lot of them are so embarrassing of just like, and then we have these, it is young, old, it's everybody. It's so many of them who are charlatans. And it is for views, so they got to sensationalize things. And it's just embarrassing to watch. Because I know the people who, they're in the comments and they're stitching their videos like, this is going to happen. And people, oh, you're going to see demons. To avoid spiritual psychosis, it is okay to have both feet in reality. It is. It is okay that the mundane is your main existence. It is okay to have explanations for things that you don't understand. It is not okay to disregard the explanations, established themes, ideology that has been tested in scientific facts. Here's the thing about science, as someone who's had to explain the fundamentals of scientific theory. Lay folks hear theory and thinks that means opinion. So in the scientific world, usually theories are tested, experimented. And if me over here, if I can test your theory, and someone in Switzerland can test your theory, and someone in Botswana can test your theory, and we all come with the same results, then that's a proven theory. Okay? It's scientifically tested, and we're able to support it as a scientific theory. People get caught up on the word theory. So, and then we can just talk about what facts are. Facts are, well, we've all experimented. We've all been monitoring, we've been, doing the testing. And here are the facts based on the experiments and the testing. So now you have data, which is facts, and the data can support the fact because there's going to be a conclusion, and that'll be your fact. So we have a lot of people who are struggling with science and facts. They're struggling with it. Two things can be true at the same time. It can be a solar eclipse that we fully understand what's happening, how the movement of the moon over the sun, like we can understand that, and we can also look into the mystics of it. We can talk about the energies of it. Why must us humans want this loving deity, because everybody's deity is loving. I don't know if you picked up on that. Allah, the Christian God, they all loving. Unless there's something crazy, unless there's a natural phenomenon occurring, and then all of a sudden he's, coming to kill us all. And I just struggle with that. It's just a struggle with me, that's all. And like I said, I'm being very mindful of my words. Within the witchcraft community specifically, again, to come back to that, I just feel like some of us are bad, just as bad as the other ones. And I have witnessed that. And this scare tactics. And it's like this all the time, though. This is one of my biggest issues. There's certain people, and they're really popular, actually. So their accounts are popular. They're on multiple platforms, some of them. And I just feel like there's this constant need to put fear in. And it's definitely some hangover left over from their Christian days. I think they still are there. That mindset never left. That's why it's important that you deconstruct as well as decolonize. Because if you don't, you're left with the ever-present fear that is to be, in any of these religions. There's always this fear. Anyway. And they champion fear, God-fearing person. I want a God-fearing, mate or something like that. People say that. I'm like, I never want to fear. How can it be love if I'm in fear? Why they, certain practices are done within those religious communities, those cults, and the abuse of children, because fear, love, abuse, all that, assault, it all is intertwined to them. Because it starts with this male deity who represents all of those things that I just said. So it makes sense that they do those sort of things. So when a natural phenomenon occurs, of course, it's the end of the world. And with witches, when a natural phenomenon occurs, of course, it's an opportunity to tell you something horrible is occurring. There are so many people afraid of, we're currently in, Mercury's in retrograde. There are so many people who are really afraid about this time, this phase, because they just think everything's going to go wrong. Can things go wrong? Yes, they can. But it's an opportunity to learn, myself included. So this entire period, I have had just mishaps of just weird things that are just more annoying than anything, but definitely technology things. And what it's teaching me is to remember, keep my temper. It's an opportunity, once again, for me to practice my patience, and another opportunity for me to be kind to myself and more kind to others, more kind to myself and to others. That's what I realized it has been the theme now that we're 10 days into April. It has been an opportunity for me to be a little bit more kinder to myself, especially, and be, like I said, more patient as well, and be even more prepared when I'm, doing certain things. Just be prepared, kind of look at everything and then, make a move at that point. But anyway, if you would like to not experience spiritual psychosis, keep your feet grounded in reality. There is nothing wrong with reality. There is nothing wrong with you having a human experience. There is nothing wrong with feeling bored. There's nothing wrong with feeling sad. There's nothing wrong with getting angry. There's nothing wrong with not having an issue with anything and just kind of feeling neutral. Those are emotions that is part of the human experience. There's nothing wrong with expressing those, especially when it's appropriate. I'm starting to think that there's a lot of people who feel like, I think a lot of people are bored. I think they're bored and they're wanting something. Our current existence, our capitalistic society, it is hard sometimes to just go through life and feel you have a sense of meaning because your days are spent working, usually to pay to live someplace and to eat and maybe some extras. And then, you're doing the same thing the next day. You get 2 days off, and it seems like it's just a never-ending cycle. And they're telling you you're going to do this most likely until you die, because retirement seems far, far, far away, if even a possibility. So I understand the need that our human brains will pick up to create a purpose, create a sense, a priority, something important for you to potentially focus on. Um, that's where someone like me comes in, because I would love to teach you how to live a magical lifestyle. That includes still being focused in your current situation, being present, and then learning how to project and to sort of be here and also exist in other realms in a peaceful manner, in a way that is good for you, in a way that isn't going to set you back, in a way that isn't going to have you questioning your sanity. Okay? So that can start with when you wake in the morning. You hear things about, gratitude, a prayer, speaking words of affirmation. When you speak words of affirmation, make those present phrases. I will be successful. Maybe not. Let's start with I am successful. I am intelligent. I'm aware of all the opportunities that lie ahead of me, and I am happy to take advantage of each of those opportunities. It is something for you to be in the present. You're out of your sleep. You're out of that sleep state. Some people feel they visit other realms in their sleep. Now you're here. So upon rising, start with being present, and then go. And go. Check in with yourself, have rituals throughout the day that help for grounding. Maybe use rituals for, let's say, full moon or new moon, for the purposes of doing any other type of work where you're doing divination or astral projecting. Maybe you want to keep that to once or twice a month, especially if you're kind of feeling a little ungrounded, a little, out there. You're not really sure. You feel like you're feeling a lot of different things. You're receiving way too many signs. It's becoming very overwhelming, and you're starting to get anxious about it. You're not going to save anybody. Spirit didn't give you a message to save the world. No, it didn't. Your ancestors don't have a message for you to give to the masses, and it's going to change everything. There's no prophecy that the world is coming to an end, and you have the message. Now, only you. So there are people who are very good at channeling. There are people who speak with the dead, provenly so. There are people who are psychic mediums. You have clairvoyant people. You have highly intuitive people. You have empaths who are not just empaths when it comes to humans, but they have a sensitivity to animals, to nature in general, and they can receive messages in the form of various senses, right? None of them got this message, just you, the person who's been getting into spirituality in the last year. Just you. You and your 22-year-old self are the only people who got this message, and nobody else. Let me tell you, nobody wants to say this out loud because it sounds discouraging. It sounds like you really don't believe in this whole witchcraft spiritual stuff. It sounds like you're just being mean, or you're being a hater. Maybe you're jealous you didn't get the message. You didn't get the message. No, you didn't. That's not, Spirit did not tell you that. Spirit didn't tell you to warn us all. Your God didn't tell you that either. That's you. That's some trauma that's unresolved. That is some um, confusion, of not understanding who's talking in your head. There's confusion on fear that's been so deeply ingrained in your psyche that it has a voice and you don't recognize it for what it is, so you assume it's some entity. The next thing I want to talk about is understanding we are the magic. We are magic. Yes, we can be vessels, but we are also source. We have source energy as well. We are made, if you want to take the Christian route, made in God's image. We have the stars. We're made up of the stars as well, the solar system. There's parts of that in us, okay? We can create magic. We can create. If we can create, we can destroy, right? There is no entity outside of us that is controlling whether we get to live or die. Deities don't work that way. Some of them would love probably to have that type of ultimate power, but it's plural deities, so not one over the other. Some have different different pantheons, different energies that they work with. Some of it overlaps, but they can't destroy the entire world. So if you're casting a spell for the whole world, everyone to just cease to exist, it won't work. It's not going to work because and you're petitioning a deity. You are a sense of source, but within reason, you have to understand they also are a sense. They may not, this person over here may not recognize the power that they have, but they do have it. The little kid has power. The baby that's growing inside of you has power. The animals they all have energy, force, life force, and they can be willed in all different types of ways. So when I talk about because people try to be funny and say, you're a witch, how come you can't know the numbers to win the lottery? I've had people, joke like that. And the short answer is because you're going up against the will of so many other people and entities, the government and so forth. You're going up against this. So hopefully the odds are in your favor. But you're going up against a lot of energy. You have a lot of people who are practitioners themselves, and they are drawing that attraction to those winning numbers to them. You have a bunch of people doing that. You have people praying for you. You have desperate people. You have people who they have good karma. You have people who dreamt of those numbers and they know that those are right, and they're playing, and they have so much belief in that. Their intention is there. You have the law of attraction people. You just have your regular Joe Blow who plays his numbers every Friday. And, it's just a routine. It's a ritual, if you will. And there's a certain energy in that. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. With that being said, there's will. There's a lot of people's energy, their will, their force at play. So you wouldn't be able to take everything out. And a deity is not going to be able to do that either, because that's not how gods and goddesses work. And I know we wish they did. So how does a god work? How does a goddess work in your life, if not to control the masses? These gods and goddesses are energy forces. They're forces of energy that can be invoked and evoked. So far, no one has been able to conjure a goddess in flesh and bone. Okay? Because they are transcendent. That's not going to be possible. A god that takes possession of you, or a goddess that would take possession of you, even if they took possession of one person, they would have to take possession of many people to destroy the world. It can't just be one. Because we have things intact. How is one person going to do it? I'm just giving you rational, logical thoughts about this. I spent most of my witchcraft not even working with deities because I just, after my stint of Christianity, I was kind of a little, I found them tiresome, and I couldn't suspend my belief into the concept of working with any deity. Not until a deity actually came to me themselves, more than once, did I fully embrace working with a deity. And that took years for me to do that. At no point in my interactions am I ever getting instructives, directives, hints, signs, or symbols of violence and of something that could put me in harm's way or someone else. So that is understanding that it's a warning, essentially. If you feel like a deity you're working with or spirit or some force is telling you that you're going to be harmed, to harm someone, or the masses will be harmed. No, that's not right. I'm sorry. No, go get some help. Go get some help. What's help? I don't know. You need to figure that out. But you're hearing a different voice. You need to distinguish what that voice is. But it's coming. The call's coming from inside the house. It's not outside. It's sad. There are people I have watched here on YouTube, and I just watched them sort of descent into a space of madness, for real. But they don't see it that way. They think they're becoming more spiritual. You're not. They haven't. They're not. They're just fear mongering. And I'll just end it with this. If you actually do have feelings of, or if you feel you hear voices, I have heard a voice. It is I call them the whispers. It's more of like a thought. I explain it as a thought form being implanted in my mind. And it's like a thought independent of the outside world, of what's currently happening, and my current thoughts. Usually it comes when I'm in a place of stillness or just doing something mundane and repetitive, but I'm not thinking about anything in particular. That's when I'll hear that little whisper. And it's not something, and it's so like fleeting, like you almost can miss it, but I always catch it. And it's like, oh, this is going to happen, or do this. It's never something stemmed in violence. And people who I know who experience this type of phenomenon also legitimately do. Also, it's never anything to harm or about harming. Now, unless it's a warning about you being in danger, we get those voices. A lot of women talk about that. And it's not even a voice per se. It's usually a feeling, kind of like in nature. But that's raw instinct kicking in too. Your intuition and raw instinct of there's danger afoot. Okay? Learn these things so that you know how to decipher better. So that you are not having a psychotic break over a solar eclipse. It's now 2 days later. And here we are. There are bigger things to be afraid of, and they are tangible and real and flesh and bone. I live in a state where they've pretty much all out got rid of, made abortion legal. There were people on the halls of, actually on the Congress floor here in the state, Arizona, speaking in tongues and praying and chanting. That's real. That really happened. A bill from the 1800s, I think as they said 1864, before the state was even really a state. Yeah, that's what they went ahead and said, yeah, we're going to bring this back. There are crazy men going on various platforms. I'm just going to call them crazy. I'm not even going to give them a name, who are saying women should no longer be able to vote. and they would like to turn this country into a Christian nation. Church and state separation, I don't know, that's a lost cause. I feel like we're like, these are very real things that are happening. Whatever happened to the student loan forgiveness for majority of us? What happens if you haven't been paying on your loans and you've been deferring all this time? Why are we not getting help? We couldn't pay pay the student loan debt. That's why we kept putting in forbearance and deferring it. So now what? Then, we have a political system that is deeply flawed with a two-party system. It'd be nice to have a third. Those are things that keep me up and that's concerning me. That healthcare is associated with your job. If you lose your job, you don't have healthcare. Sometimes you can't be in control of keeping your job if these companies are just going to lay you off at the drop of a hat so they can keep their numbers a certain way. That's something that I can be very fearful about. So hopefully this was helpful. I know I sort of went on different tangents on different subjects, but within the witchcraft spiritual community, we need to start calling people out. Yeah, calling people out on the BS of the fear mongering, the conspiracy theories that are being taken in the most extreme literal way, and to the point that people feel they get emotional on this warning. They have to warn you. It's so much urgency. I notice every lunar cycle, there's a sense of urgency. Every astronomical event like Mercury in retrograde. Oh, this is the one. This is the one that's going to change your life. If you know how to tap into it appropriately, but it shouldn't require seeing demons. It shouldn't require people being floating up to the sky. It shouldn't. It shouldn't require any of those things. It's just you doing some maybe astral projection, if you'd like. It's you creating a spell that puts you in a mindset of where you want to be, and you leap into that. It's that. It's you believing that's possible, and then in your existing present reality, you have now adopted this philosophy that you hope to have in the future, and now you're here, and now you can do those things that you say you wanted to manifest for the future. It can happen now. That's what that looks like. Don't be fooled when I talk like this and think, oh, well, that's not really magic. Yes, it is. Do you know how hard it is for people to even organize their thoughts, for people to control their thoughts? There are some people who don't know how to control their thoughts. They don't know how to make the chatter stop, let alone focus energy. So don't take what I said lightly. That we're using the term magic. Don't worry, another word will be invented for what that is. Science was once magic. So don't worry, there's another word for it. But there are people who don't know how to organize their thoughts. You're not going to be as successful, because you can't organize your thoughts long enough to cast a spell. This has nothing to do with being neurodivergent or anything like that. Long enough to focus the energies. And energy is something you're engaged. Being engaged might look differently for everybody, but whatever that is, if you're focused enough, and focus is going to be different from everybody. But when I say not having organized thoughts, you're thinking the opposite of what you want to happen. A lot of us do that. We're thinking what we don't want to happen as we're casting a spell. Oh, I don't want this to not work. So you're already in the opposite. Organize your thoughts, right? So I'm going to stop here. And like I said, thank you for listening this far. Get help. Whatever that help looks like for you. I'm not going to, just blanket say that, but get help if you are struggling with understanding, if you don't feel grounded anymore. And it's overwhelming and it's making you anxious. Get some help to help sort all this out. And thank you for watching. I am Mika. This is Leap Taken. If you've enjoyed the video, go ahead and like, subscribe. As well, if you would like to, consider hitting the join button to join Leap Taken membership. Also, go to my website if you're interested, leaptaken.com. You can check out the services that I offer there. Thanks again.